Good evening. This is your weather briefing for this weekend's Verve Cup Offshore Regatta. I'm meteorologist Chris Bedford. Just a reminder that this is an outlook forecast for the this weekend, next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And no doubt conditions will change somewhat from what we're talking about today. So it's important that you keep updated on the weather forecast for each day of racing. Check the official forecast and watch for any or look for any warnings or advisories that may be issued over the racing area between now and Sunday. There is a chance of some thunderstorms tomorrow, and some of them could be strong. So again, keep a monitor on conditions and take appropriate action should the weather deteriorate. This is the severe weather outlook issued by the Storms Prediction Center for tomorrow, and you can see that we do have an area they have flagged for a slight risk of severe thunderstorms, including Chicagoland and the nearshore sections of Lake Michigan, including the racing area. And so anytime tomorrow we may have some thunderstorms that happen. I think there could be some thunderstorms in the morning and again in the afternoon. Probably the ones in the afternoon would be the stronger of the storms, but still it's important that you keep an eye to the sky and keep updating with the official conditions tomorrow. Conditions improve on Saturday. Well, as I'll show, we have a cold front that's moving southeast of Chicago in the morning, and we get some drier air coming in. Although there is a slight chance of some showers, very small risk. Right now, it looks like most of the thunderstorm activity will be moving south and east of Chicago on Saturday. Conditions remain pretty benign on Sunday as high pressure moves in, and we will have some deteriorating out to the west of Chicago, but it looks like that stays well to the west of the area and is not a threat at this time. This is the analysis for this afternoon. We see that there's a cold front lying across the Great Lakes, sort of west to east right now, and there's an area of cumulus cloud around that frontal system as it moves toward the south, and it's expected to continue to move through Chicago, but will likely stall across Chicago for this evening, or just to the south of Chicago. If you look out to the west, you can see that the front is stalling across the Dakotas already. There's a low pressure just off this chart to the left, and that will start to move to the east and cause this front to slow down and, as I say, stall. And then very likely it'll start to move back as a warm front tomorrow. Here's the forecast surface chart for tomorrow morning, and you can see the frontal system. NOAA has drawn it as a stalled front across Chicago, southern Lake Michigan area. You can also see that low pressure area out to the west that is moving in slowly, and this front will start to lift north as a warm front in the morning and bring in some warmer, more moist air from the south across the area and keep the air mass unstable with a chance of some showers and possibly some thunderstorms. As I mentioned, some of those thunderstorms could become strong or even severe. Here's the forecast chart for tomorrow evening. Low pressure over central Wisconsin. The front has moved north across into central Lake Michigan, just sort of showing that southwesterly gradient flow. If you imagine the flow around the low pressure area being counterclockwise, it's bringing up the warm, moist air from the south and west. And so gradient southwesterlies look like the predominant wind flow for tomorrow. And if we look at that on first of all, this is forecast radar for late tomorrow morning from the rapid refresh model, and it is predicting some showers and thunderstorms nearby. Again, we can't expect the model to get this exactly right. So really what it's doing, it's flagging that tomorrow we'll be watching the radar for any new development that may be coming into the area, both in the morning and again in the afternoon. All right, looking at the high resolution model or a high resolution model for tomorrow, late tomorrow morning, we see basically west-southwest flow over Chicago, a little bit accelerated once it gets out over onto the lake from what it is on the shore. This will be a fairly shifty and unstable west-southwesterly flow. Right now, it looks like it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of the sort of call it 8 to 13 knots or something like that on this forecast. As we go into the early afternoon, we see the wind backs to the left a little bit, and that's a result of some thermal input. We get some heating going on over the interior sections of Cook County, and that causes a little bit of a thermal component to back this breeze to the left. But we also see the wind increasing and getting kind of gusty out in the lake as we go into the afternoon hours. And here's the forecast wind table, basically showing those sort of west-southwest winds in the morning, and then backing a little bit to a more of a southwest direction, or maybe even south-southwest direction in the early afternoon, and also picking up with time as we get into that stronger gradient. Now, the wind table here does not show the effects of thunderstorms directly. I think there are some the model is trying to show here in the morning, maybe some showers or thunderstorms, and then again later in the afternoon. But as I said, there is a risk of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day tomorrow, and we'll just have to nowcast those as they develop tomorrow. Okay, looking ahead to Saturday, the warm front moves out to the east, and actually the primary low pressure that we saw over Wisconsin tomorrow evening moves basically sort of to the thumb area of Michigan, Saginaw Bay. And there's a cold front that is extending down to the southwest of that, and that's expected to move through. Most of the weather will be south of that front, and that looks to move through in the morning, or actually early morning, if anything. And we should have some drier, cooler air coming in behind it. There's not a big clearing high coming in behind this front, so right now it looks like it'll be a fairly soft change with the winds coming in from the northwest initially, and then gradually veering around into the northeast. And we'll see that here on the model runs. Here's late morning. We can see the northwesterly flow post frontal. If you look down across northwest Indiana, you actually see the wind shift down this area here from that frontal change. And this looks like it will continue to veer right as we go into the early afternoon, and we get a little bit of a lake breeze component also trying to fill in here, but basically the wind is veering on the lake more into the northeast with time, and you can see a convergence boundary that develops between the lake breeze and the northwest gradient just inshore of the sailing area. And we may get some cloud development, some cumulus development on that convergence boundary, and maybe even an isolated shower, although it looks like a pretty low risk of that happening right now. And then by Saturday evening, looks like the northeast flow continues to veer around more into the east and pick up a little bit on the coast there. And that'll probably be the peak wind of the day late in the afternoon. You can see that on the wind table here, northwest and west winds in the morning, veering around into the northeast late morning, and then through the afternoon, continuing to gradually veer more east and maybe even slightly south of east, just barely in the latter part of the afternoon. Okay, and then on Sunday, it looks like we have high pressure, which is going to be moving east across the lake, starts out across southwest Wisconsin, northwest Illinois, eastern Iowa in the morning, and then we'll gradually move to the east with time. Again, this is not a strong high. So basically what it's going to do is move across the lake and cause the gradient to go slack, which means that we're basically looking at we're looking at lake breeze winds for the day on Sunday. And in fact, on this model, this is the GFS model, we can see a high pressure in the afternoon over the center of the lake, where the air is sinking to support the lake breeze, both way out on to the east on the Michigan shore, a northerly lake breeze down here into Indiana, and a east northeasterly lake breeze even into the Chicago and Wisconsin shore. So it looks like a pretty standard sort of lake breeze pattern. We go into the forecast table for Sunday. We see pretty light winds all day. That shift in the midday, late morning from the westerly winds going around into the northeast, and then basically, as I said, easterly winds for most of the afternoon, but probably topping out at about 10 knots. All right, looks like a pretty decent weekend. Probably tomorrow is the one day where we may have some unsettled conditions on the lake, but also some moderate winds tomorrow, and then lighter breezes for Saturday and Sunday, but better weather. Have a fun time out there, have a good competition, and most importantly, be safe. Thank you.